Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films live, episode 13. Here with my lovely co-host, Miss Ashley Priyanka. Ashley, Roquan Smith Week. There's a mess up the beginning of the show. Lovely. Roquan Smith Week. I want to know how Dad, lifelong Bears fan, took the news of Roquan coming to his daughter's team.
Well, I just want to say I felt like a little bit of a fortune teller. Like I predicted this, but I'm not going to brag too much about it, but he I think he's in shock in true dad nature because I was up in Maryland or I was actually on a flight back down here, but I texted him the news. All he said was wow. And he's giving me a pretty short answer, so I think he's hurting a little bit, but he'll be excited to watch the Ravens with Roquan.
Yes, Roquan, exciting addition. We'll get to him a lot. First, let's get to a few of the people in the comments already, Ashley. They're here. Alec loves the music, wants to play this jam at the bank. I don't think that's going to happen, Mr. Polianis. But you can put in a good word for me. I know you're going to make it rich and famous there. We got Eli, the Titans fan, in there. Yo, what's up, Eli? I saw you complaining, sir, that the Titans were very quiet on Twitter. I was thinking about you. They did not make a trade, as far as I know. How you feeling about your Titans there, Eli? Let me know. Cosmonaut, whoop, whoop. You know what, Ashley? YouTube, by the way, flagged the last 26 seconds of Cosmonaut and I's song today for the Roquan Smith video. So I had to replace the music last minute. The funny thing about it is it's on a loop. Him and I made it. So they didn't flag it the first time they played through the loop, just the last 26 seconds of the song. So just another YouTube hoop to jump through there, Ashley.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all of that. I'm sure Simply is much more familiar with copyright strikes and whatnot.
Yeah, speak of the man himself, Simply AS10. What a guy, bro! What a guy! Got to meet Simply AS10 for the first time. Was a great experience. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. And we got the true Don. Now we got Baltimore C Don that comes in often. Hopefully we'll see Baltimore Don C in here. This is my buddy Don Olson. Don actually has some information and wanted to give his input on the Ravens. Don, if you don't mind me saying, sir, represents a team in the NFC. I guess that's about all I would say just for privacy purposes. But he said he's going to chime in on the draft value. Can't talk about the games or players, teams for contractual reasons. We understand, buddy, but Don has some thoughts that he gave me on the Roquan trade that I wanted to share. So happy to see him in there. But Ashley, first order of business before we get into football. Oh my goodness. Look at this, fellas. This was you just at the beginning of the show. Now, look at that. Ashley, I want you to comment for a second on my picture. What do you think? How do I look in that shot?
I'm just confused because both of you look so unhappy, like somebody was holding you guys at gunpoint to take a picture with me. Look how happy I look. And then look at them.
I don't have a comeback. This is as happy as I get, I think. This is as happy as I get. Yeah, Simply looks like he's giving the I'm at work friendly smile there. Ashley, of course, looking gorgeous. And man, I hate the way I look. I'm just going to take that bad boy off the screen. There's the happy couple. Side note, as soon as Simply sat down on the couch, he lost about 500 subscribers. So wasn't a great time for Simply, but they came over. By the way, we found out that what Lamar Jackson ordered from our favorite Greek restaurant, and it coincidentally was what my wife orders and what Ashley and Simply ordered. So he got the chicken souvlaki, and he also got the Euro fries. Simply and Ashley were all over those Euro fries, and my wife always gets the chicken souvlaki. I get the Euro wrap. All right, that's enough words for me, Ashley. So just to get your initial thoughts here, the Roquan trade. I'm going to read off Don's thoughts. Let's get that out while he's in there. What do you say? This is what Don had to say about. Again, he is in the NFC. This is what he had to say about the Ravens' strategy here, trading the draft pick away, and then about Roquan himself. In valuing picks, look at their last 3 drafts, Ashley. Over the last 3 years, they have drafted 29 players. Eric has a lot of youth in the fold, While you want as many cheap contracts as possible, you can't draft 10 to 12 players every season. If you notice, the last few years, they have released or traded players that are starters on other teams on cheap rookie contracts. Go back to 2018. They lost Zach Sealer. They had to trade Ben Bredesen, Tyree Phillips, Sean Wade, and others. They can't find space for a player like Tyler Beatty right now. You only have so many spots, and with the core and the veteran leadership the Ravens have, it leaves little room for 10 or more drafted players every year without leaving one off the roster. So, yeah, Ashley, a lot there. Hopefully, everybody could follow. But that's what Don has to say. He's like, basically, the Ravens have let go guys that we've drafted, not necessarily for performance reasons. We're just a stacked roster every year. That's what we do. We like to stockpile a lot of talent. No need. Don't freak out that we traded a second and a fifth for Roquan. We're going to have plenty of players signed up and a good team and a deep team, even without those picks.
Yeah, I thought it was very reasonable, and I'm right there with him about it's great to have a lot of draft picks, and we've had some really good drafts as well. I'm not going to say anything against that, but like you said, we don't use a lot of them, or they get traded away. They don't make the roster, so I don't see the point of fans getting so upset about, well, we should have held on to that draft pick. We should have done that when we're not even really using the draft picks that we had from last season or the season before. And especially for a player like Roquan Smith, who's going to make a difference when he touches the field, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Me neither. And then the other thing is, if you're Eric DaCosta, where did you cut your teeth? It's in the scouting community. You're a scout at heart. Look at a player like Josh Ross, who hasn't been on the field, but I have a feeling he would have been in there for Bynes by now if he had been healthy. Other undrafted free. Look at the undrafted free agent streak we had of players making the team for so long. You don't need all those picks. To Don's point, 9, 10 picks every year. Basically, you're shipping out guys, and look at all the jobs that they're getting on other teams. There was a statistic that came out earlier this year where the Ravens have more drafted players in the league than any other team. So you got former Ravens everywhere. Why? We can't keep them all. So to Don's point, giving up an extra pick, I'd like to see Eric do that a little bit more. He has traded 3 out of 4 years for a player, so it's good to see Mr. DaCosta being aggressive.
Yeah, and I wish I could remember exactly what my dad told me. The infamous Bears fan, he likes to talk about that '85 Bears team a lot. But he had told me that there was like an unreal number of like rookies that had made that Super Bowl team that they had drafted. And he was saying how like that doesn't happen ever. And it was just so unique. And that was back in '85. So I don't think we're going to break a record like that anytime soon. I don't think that's going to happen to our team. I wish I could be more precise. If somebody in the comments knows about history and for some reason knows what my dad was talking about, feel free to correct me, but
it's a little before my time, to be honest. I remember it, but I don't remember what was going on in the off season with the team that wasn't in my city. So I can't do that. But hey, we got our guest on early today. Thank you, Jordan, for coming in, filling in for the sergeant tonight, who is on leave from the Situation Room. How you doing, Jordan?
Good to see you, Jason. Ashley, how you guys doing?
Good.
So, hey, we were talking to our friend Don, who was saying basically you don't need to draft 9 or 10 players every year, Jordan. Look at the Ben Bredesens, the Sean Wades, Tyree Phillips, the other guys who can't make the team, and we just basically trade them for more picks, and then we have even more guys the next year to try to find homes for. Can't get Beatty on the field. What's your thoughts on that? Do you agree with Don on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with a pick being traded here, a couple reasons. One is that if Roquan leaves, you're going to get, and the contract that he's going to get almost guarantees that you're going to get a 3rd-round comp pick coming back. So even if we're not getting that pick back next year, we're going to get it the year after that. When a 2nd to a 3rd isn't going to be that huge of a drop-off, hopefully with the Ravens' success. But, when you look at the roster for next year, a lot of the guys that are playing and starting right now are already on the roster. Marcus Peters stands out as one of the guys that would potentially need to be extended. But you kind of look across the board, and Justin Houston, I think, is on a 1-year deal, but we've got depth at outside linebacker that is kind of roaring back here. And so you just kind of look everywhere, and there are guys in every position. And so you're only going to be able to draft impact players so many times in so many spots. There's so many places to play. And so when you think you can make a difference, and especially when it's, I think you could argue, the weakest position on the roster in terms of what the Ravens were getting from a performance perspective, it's absolutely worth the draft capital to me.
Yeah, and I saw our friend Shrimp Trawler, if I can find him, he's basically saying, we're not getting anything. We're no one at finding at undrafted free agents. See, I agree. I disagree with Shrimp Trawler big time. We've had undrafted free agents make the team historically, like almost every year but one, I think.
I think he's saying.
I think he said number one. Yeah.
Number
he
one.
Said.
Okay. All right, then I'll change that. I 100% agree. Thank you, Shrimp Trawler. That's what I was saying. You got a GM who specializes in the draft. A guy like Mekhi Polk could have made the team this year if we didn't have draft picks just sitting there, fourth rounder like Tylan Wallace, whoever, James Prochet, a sixth rounder. We could have found a place. As far as Mekhi Polk being as good as those guys are providing value on the outside. So Don had this to say about the Roquan Smith trade. Next talking point. On paper, it looks rough. He's talking about giving up that pick. But remember that he fills a massive hole in the defense when it comes to linebackers and coverage. He gets to his drops and can play in space with players crossing his face. We're going to see that in the film study. High IQ from Roquan in pass defense. Don't ask him to line up or match hat on a hat with an athletic tight end. Really limit his exposure to man coverage. So there you go. He's a zone player. Kyle Hamilton's starting to emerge. If you saw him on Thursday night, Cade Otton was no match for Kyle Hamilton. He looks like he might be the matchup guy that we have on tight ends. Roquan, you just ask him to play zone like he's used to. Don't ask him to follow, a quicker guy in man coverage. The real value, Don says, in the draft is in the first round. While the name splash in the second gathers talking heads, landing a scheme role player in the fifth pays dividend to your total 53-man roster. At worst, Roquan is a gap rental to fix a hole, and you wait for the future player around pick 100. That's the comp pick that Jordan's talking about, which is about the same coin flip chance of being the starter compared to what the Ravens gave up. So, yeah, you trade a second. At worst thing, if you can't sign them, you get back a third. That's a coin flip on which those prospects is going to be more valuable. So, Jordan, overall thoughts on the Roquan Smith trade?
I mean, I like it. It's the Ravens were going to add somebody, I think, and it definitely seems like they were exploring the market. They explored around tight end. They were looking, or wide receiver, not tight end. They got plenty of tight ends. They looked around for a wide receiver. They didn't find the value that they wanted. They were looking for where they thought they were going to get the best bang for their buck. And this was the place they found it. And, getting Chicago to eat the money that was left on Roquan's deal, so they didn't have to kick that can down the road. They didn't have to restructure anybody. They didn't have to do that. I'm a big fan of it. I think it gives you impact players, especially once we get to December, assuming Marcus Williams comes back. You're getting impact players at every single level of this defensive unit now. You've got guys at edge coming back that have been really successful. Justin Houston's, almost leading the league in sacks with 3 games that he didn't play. You got Roquan in the middle. You got Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams in the back end. It's going to be tough to move the ball. And, once they get their bearings and kind of, just like we saw in the Tampa game, that first drive was not great and it was not ideal. But once they got their bearings, they knew what they wanted to do. It was really hard to move the ball on this team. And I think we're going to continue to see that moving forward. Definitely helps with the run defense too, which has had a little bit of leakage in there, which I think is going to be nice to have a guy that wraps up and doesn't miss tackles. I've seen too much of that lately from this Ravens team.
Very physical player. Walmart Don C. Didn't want to forget to say hello to you, my friend. Great to see you back in the chat. Know you've been all over the place the last few Wednesday nights. So, Ashley, yeah, it's going to help this run defense, which obviously people look at the passing game, higher leverage downs. He's going to help there too. So, but, what sticks out about Roquan, we're going to see in our film study in about 15 minutes. He's a knockback, sure tackler. You talk about shedding blocks. This man gets off blocks. He gives you a little bit of everything. A true 3-down linebacker, Ashley.
Yeah, and I was honestly very excited because I don't normally get too excited about our, trades, free agency, because I just don't. maybe I'm pessimistic, but I don't have I don't expect a lot so that I don't get disappointed. But I wasn't expecting Roquan, and I was very excited about it, especially because I just had, Bears fan at home, and I just wanted to rub it in a little bit. But like Simply was saying, and a lot of other people in the chat, I don't see how you can be unhappy about that. I understand that we had a need at wide receiver, but we also had a need at linebacker, and it's going to make the defense better. And especially, we've been complaining about fourth quarter defense all season. So he's going to make us better, and I'm excited to see what he can do. And other people coming off of injury, I'm excited to see what the defense does as a whole, including Roquan.
So we have a lot more to get to here tonight. You mentioned the wide receiver. Lamar's targets with Bateman out. Harbaugh said a few weeks. Who the heck knows what that means? Bateman looks like he's definitely not going to play this week, and then we have the bye week following. That's the main part. This gave people a chance to complain about the lack of weapons for Lamar, which, as Don knows and other people know, anybody who's watched the show, I wanted someone just more dependable and upgrade in the room, especially with Rashad Bateman out an unknown amount of time. Even if Bateman comes back, that foot might be barking at him the rest of the year. You have Mark Andrews. That's great. He is definitely counts as a target. I don't like when people don't look at Andrews as a receiver. That's what he can do. His tight end work is a bonus. He's our best receiver when you line him up in the slot. So the lack of weapons, though, are you concerned about that, Ashley? And is this something that could really hold the Ravens back?
Yeah, of course. I'm as concerned as everyone else. And I didn't want to make it seem like I was saying, oh, we didn't need a wide receiver. We needed this, because we did. But I just didn't expect that to happen. And like I was saying, I didn't get disappointed because I wasn't expecting us to go pick up a wide receiver. But we also haven't seen, what Deshaun Jackson can bring. We haven't seen what the full potential of some of these guys like Prochet, what they can bring as well. So I never want to count them out, because that's not helping anybody to, just be hateful and expect the worst from the offense. But with our running backs as well, I'm a little bit concerned for the offense. It doesn't really matter how good the defense is we can't move the ball on offense.
So Jordan, I'm going to kick it to you like this. We face a lot of zone defense with Lamar. So it's not even about being quick enough, fast enough to beat your guy. You find the space in zone because they can't play man versus Lamar. You can make catches if you're James Prochet, Tylan Wallace. They don't have to be these separation masters at the top of the route. We got people in here, hey, like Marcus. Thank you for commenting, Marcus, saying Isaiah Likely, Deshaun Jackson. Those are two guys that can help. What's your concern level about the receiving group? And I just want to throw in there again, Mark Andrews is banged up. I assume he's going to play through this and get the bye week the rest, though.
So I'm going to give you an answer that's not directly an answer to your question. My concern about the wide receiver group is not a concern because of what's happening in the running game. We have continued to see strong evolution from the running game, get better and get better and get better. And so what we saw in the second half of this Tampa game from Greg Roman was a recognition of using that run game to set up the pass, that you got to mix it all in together. I think, Jason, I was messaging with you and Gabe and Don during the game, and I said, they don't have to pass all the time or run all the time. If they mix it, they balance. It was like kind of all passing in the first half, all running in the second half, but they mixed that up together. They're going to be really effective in terms of what they can do. They're going to be short throws that are available to the running backs, to the wide receivers, to that entire kind of group as a unit. Likely is definitely going to be an addition in terms of what he can do to bail out Andrews. And who knows what we're going to get from Kolar. He's another guy that was able to get separation in college, had good hands. There's good kind of meat on the bones there in terms of what he might be able to bring you as another guy. But look, if this Ravens team can get it up and running at kind of 5 to 6 yards of carry from the running backs on their when they're running the ball, in addition to what Lamar is going to do, in addition to seeing play calling that we did in the second half of this Tampa game, nobody should be worried about what this offense is going to look like, because we saw 3 straight touchdowns in the second half of that game against a solid Tampa defense where we weren't attacking the biggest weakness that they had on the team. And what we know about 2019 is if Greg Roman I don't, everybody has their opinions about Greg Roman, but what he likes to do is say, hey, we're going to do what we want to do. We don't care where your strengths are. We're going to be successful at what we do. And when he can do that with precision and accuracy and success, this offense is going to be unstoppable. And so to
All right, so
me,
Jordan, I'm gonna hit back at you with something. My concern is the boundary, just the boundary. Between the hashes, I agree with you, bro. Andrew's likely. We got guys that can work in there. It's the Demarcus Robinson on the field. It's can Deshaun Jackson give you anything? Like, I'm just worried without Bateman that we don't have a guy that we can stick over there and cause any kind of defensive attention. That everything's going to get clustered to the middle, which then affects your running game. Like, Deshaun Jackson makes me excited because I feel like he can stretch the field. But that's my main complaint with this. It's not that we don't have guys. We have plenty of guys. They're just all between the hashes type guys. Legitimate concern for you that could trickle down, affect the running game, and stagnate the offense.
I mean, no, because I don't know that I completely agree with you. I think Demarcus Robinson is a guy that can win on the outside. Devin Duvernay has shown more than capability to do everything at all levels of the field, running the ball, being on the outside, catching screens, running deeper routes. We've seen him be successful running corner routes, getting open, in the end zone. I think there are a lot of opportunities. Devin Duvernay is a guy that I think has been a little undervalued for what he's brought to this team so far this year. He's been a monster in terms of catching the ball, in terms of his targets. I think he's got a 100% catch rate on catchable balls. That's the kind of impact that you're going to need from a guy like him. He can also stretch that defense laterally when they've got that running. And Dobbins, potentially is on his way back too. We get those pony looks up and running. We could potentially see some of that look with Kenyon Drake and Gus Edwards. Those guys can get to the edge. And if Kenyon Drake sees a lane, there's just a little bit of light, it's a house call, and he just barely, there were just a couple plays, in the Tampa game where in the first half where they just missed the block here and there, and he almost had, it looked like it was going to be there. And so, it doesn't worry me that much. This offense is not built around the X receiver being the first read, and that's where the success is of this offense. And so if Lamar can get away from that, where it's let me go through my reads, take what's available in front of me, work the chains, make sure that we are staying within the down and distance that's going to be the strength of our offense. And then if it's not there underneath, knowing that I could throw it over the top, or then if that time has kind of expired, then he can run the ball. I think this team is going to be just fine. And the wide receiver concerns have, at least for me personally, have always been a little overrated.
Okay, gotcha. So, Marcus, thank you. First super chat of the night. Marcus Barnes weighing in. Appreciate you, buddy, man. I mean, that's awesome. I'm gonna kick it to Ashley, where I got Jordan, a lot from Jordan there. Confidence level in Bateman with so many drops. Ashley, my short answer is I'm still confident in Rashad Bateman. He just needs to be on the field healthy. That's it. The drops, I think, are something that'll plague him from time to time, but he'll still be ultra productive.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and he needs to see the field more as well, because even when he was healthy, he wasn't used as much as a lot of us would have liked him to be used. So I think that might play into it a little bit, like seeing how little he's seeing the field in addition to so many drops. You have to take into account that. And plus, receivers drop balls. It's just going to happen. I'm not too concerned about it.
There you go, Jordan. You want to weigh in very quickly, man, because we're moving along fast.
I'm a little concerned about it. There have been some big moments where the ball's hit him in the hands, he's dropped it. So he's just got to tighten up his focus in those moments, and if he does that, he'll be fine.
There you go. So thank you so much again, Marcus, for the donation and give us something to talk about. Really appreciate that, brother. That is awesome. So the Ravens, though, overall, before we get to the film study, Ashley, we're 5-3. Bengals lost, game up. And, man, there's some winnable games. It seems like it's out there for the Ravens. Winnable games don't mean anything if you can't win them. But I looked at the Bengals schedule. I think they still have the Bills and the Chiefs or something crazy on their schedule. The Ravens, they take care of business. They're in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, and I knew that those divisional wins would come in handy later on, and I'm very grateful that we won those games. And after seeing that game, and this was one of those games, one of those Monday night games that I had to watch the Manning cast because there was no way I was just gonna watch it straight up. But seeing the way both of those teams were playing, I was like, the Ravens are the best in the AFC North. And seeing how the Steelers have been all year too, I think that the division, I mean, anything could happen, especially with division rivals, but I'm pretty sure that the Ravens have this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with a 3-0 record in division. The Do they get the Browns again before Watson gets back? I think that's the one I'd be a little
Yeah,
concerned about. But
we get four. We got four more, so we get the Steelers twice and both of the other two.
yeah, the Steelers are sticking up the AFC North this year, which is great to see. But the Bengals are just not going to be able to stop this pass rush. I mean, if Houston is back and adding Bowser and Ajabo, those guys are going to be rested, and their offensive line has no solutions.
So Ashley, Gus might be out this week with that hamstring. He might need a couple of weeks. Bateman, I don't think he plays, but Tyus Bowser, time to activate him and David Ajabo. They're activated. Bowser looks good. I kind of expect him to play Monday night. Ajabo, maybe they hold him out a week. You got Dobbins coming back eventually. You're going to have Marcus Williams later in the season. You look around, man, the depth on this team, especially the defense with Roquan, looking pretty good. It's nice to have those players back, especially Tyus Bowser.
Yeah, I agree. And everybody coming back at the time that they will be, it looks like we're setting up for the postseason pretty nicely. At least we can hope.
And Travis Jones' development, excuse me, Travis Jones' development shouldn't be underrated here. He's looked really good in the moments that we've seen from him, and Matabike is really coming along well too.
All right, get yourself together there, Jordan. We'll come back to you on that thought. I'll comment real quick. Look, Travis Jones, to me, Ashley, he needs to work on his anchor and his run defense. Okay, he's getting moved too much for as big as he is. His pass rush, doing really well. It's not a strength thing for Travis Jones. I mean, dude, the strength jumps off the page. He's just got to get his technique down better. And when he's anchored on one guy, he's got to be able to feel the other guy coming down and double on the double team. Know where it's coming from, position his body correctly. Like, those are the little technical things I'm looking at with Travis Jones. Pass rush, he looks good. Matabike, though, talk about it, man. Every game, Ashley, it's one or two slash plays, and that's not even the things you don't see down to down.
Yeah, and with Jones, I feel like it's going to be a progression thing. Like we were kind of touching on with Bateman. I think the more he sees the field, the more comfortable he'll get, and we'll see the athlete that he truly is and working perfectly in our defense, in Mike McDonald's defense.
Hey, Jordan, pick up on my thought. Travis Jones needs to work on his anchor, man. Technique, but he's fine, plenty strong enough. I see what you're saying. You expect him to take another nice leap, too. Hamilton, another rookie. It's going to take a nice jump and keep getting better and better. And then Matabike, I think he's come into his own, man. If this is what he is, if he doesn't go any higher, peak any higher, he's a damn good football player.
Yeah, and Travis Jones' ability to block shed is incredible. I agree with you, especially for the role that the Ravens are asking him to play. You want to see a better anchor from him, but when he does kind of set his feet and he wants to shed an offensive lineman, they're down the field. He can throw those guys 2, 3, 4 yards out of the way and make some of these big plays. The other part about all this is how rested and rotational the Ravens can be. I think we saw that comment about Broderick Washington. Played fantastic so far this year. We saw a game where Calais Campbell's not on the field. Didn't miss a beat on the defensive line from that set of guys, right? You add Roquan Smith. If Ross comes back, that's rotational depth at middle linebacker. You've got Geno Stone playing great. You mentioned Kyle Hamilton. Marcus Williams is coming back. I think slot corner is the one big concern that you see on defense right now. Outside of that, it feels really good.
Yeah. Pepe, Brandon Stevens. I mean, versus the Buccaneers, we had to move Marlon to the slot to cover Godwin and brought Brandon Stevens out in to play outside corner. So, that goes to show you the trust level now with the slot corners, not good. I mean, when the Bengals put Chase in the slot, we had Pepe on him, I think, at that game. Didn't go real well. You know what I mean? So you just have to be real careful. That third cornerback is really the only weakness on this defense. Other than that, it looks like plus at every other position. Broderick Washington, thank you, Shrimp Trawler, for pointing it out. That man deserves a little midseason highlight tape because so steady in run defense. He reminds me his run defense is like on the level of where Derek Wolfe was in his prime, and when we saw him in 2020 with the Ravens. I mean, one-on-one, he's just going to take you. He's going to peek around you, and then he's going to throw you to whatever way he wants to and crash into the ball carrier. The plays over right there. Broderick Washington is really good. And then Shrimp Trawler again. Yeah, I think Calais Campbell is the happiest for the Roquan signing. It shows front office really wants to get him a ring before he requires, and it gives him a chance to be on a truly dominant defense like he was in Jacksonville. Don't forget about that. Jordan, look at that. The man's subscribers went down by 500 as soon as he sat on my couch. And there's me. And Ashley, what do I look like? Like I don't want to be there. Is that what it was?
Yeah, a little bit like a hostage situation.
Yeah, hostage situation. Ashley, by the way.
Yeah, blink twice if you're okay, Jason.
Oh, you know what? Let me get that off of there. Ashley had pretty cool hair. It was fascinating. They were in, I don't know, it was twisted and it was braided and did something. But that's when I was seeing her on the couch. I'm like, damn, man, they got fancy to come over to the Huddle It Up film. Okay, so here we go. Jordan, first film session with us. Brother, we try to get through this in a half hour. So try to keep your thoughts to 1-2 sentences is the 3-4 sentences is the key here, as Ashley has mastered, as Garnett has not quite mastered. So we will see here. Roquan Smith, his processing. I want you guys to watch his head. Now his head's behind the goalpost. I believe that this is going to be a play action pass. So he's going to have to respect the run and then watch what he does here in the pass defense. We're going to take a look at Roquan Smith and his pass defense. He respects the run, goes back. You see his eyes on the quarterback, dropped in his assignment, comes up, makes the tackle on Damian Harris. And Jordan, he's not getting dragged, brother, when he tackles.
Yeah, his ability to clean up those tackles is great, but the hip flip here is, I think, what's impressive. You know, he goes from defending to the inside, flipping around to the outside, gets him in position to be able to make the tackle.
Yeah, you see the hip flip, and you can see the tight end come in behind him. So he was in the right position for that. And then, of course, his eyes, they're just very fluent. You can see his main responsibility is going to be the short zone here. And when he hits Damian Harris, goes down like a bag of a sack of potatoes, I think it's called. Okay, now we're going to see him avoid this block. So he is on basically not the play side. He is away from the play. Patriots are going to run the ball to their right, to the left of the screen. And the guy in yellow is going to attempt to cut off Roquan Smith. So let's see how that goes. Of course, Roquan's going to run, chase, and finish. 77, I believe that's Isaiah Wynn. Doesn't have a chance. Pushes him in the back. But again, he makes a big running back crumble. Ashley, showing off a little athleticism here, not getting knocked off balance.
Yeah, his awareness and focus is what I'm seeing the most of and that I'm the most impressed with. I feel like he's going to bring just a different presence to our defense. And sorry about me being muted. It just started raining, and this is the first time it's rained since the hurricane, so I'm kind of hoping that we don't have any additional leaks in the house or anything.
No mercy. Yeah. Don't get leakage over there. That's not good. So yeah, the run, chase, finish. There's the slow motion replay. But yeah, getting pushed in the back and then still being able to settle his feet and tackle a big running back. Patience and finish. Now he kind of disappears here in the hole, then reappears, and then watch the finish, Jordan. He's not a very nice guy on the football field, bro. It looked like he wanted to rip Stevenson's head off here.
And his ability to anchor and sit in the hole, I think what I would like the most here is the run fit and him understanding which is his gap, where he needs to be and where he thinks the running back is going to go. Yeah,
actually, his fit in the run gap's pretty simple here. You see it. It's right there. He doesn't over pursue. So you can see the discipline. But what I like is if you watch the center, trying to find somebody to block, number 60. And Roquan kind of like, I'm going to just kind of scoot over. He actually avoids two blockers by doing this, 71 and 60. One of them should have blocked him, but he kind of just plays like hide and go seek there, Ashley.
Yeah, and his physicality, like Jordan was saying, just his ability to sit there and just not being afraid of contact is so refreshing to see because we really don't see a lot of that on our team.
Yeah, Ashley, I mean, remember Ray Lewis? He could just sit there and explode one time into a man running full speed at him. And it would be a heads-up collision. Like he wouldn't be run over or dragged. That's what I'm really excited about, Jordan. A lot of these second and sixes, second and fives that we're facing. The team runs for 4 or 5 yards on first down. Man, we're making contact at the right spot, but Patrick Queen is not a knockback tackler. We've had problems with the other guys actually just getting to the spot in the first place. If you meet Roquan in the hole at 3 yards, you're getting probably 3 yards most of the time. He's not going to be able to power you forward to a 6-yard gain, and that opens up the playbook so much. The running, what you get on rundowns affects the plays you can call on passing downs.
Yeah, in pursuit, he's not overcommitting, and we see so much of that from the current Ravens team, and so his ability to kind of hold that up, I think, is going to be really valuable to the team.
So again, we've seen him in coverage here a couple of times. Saw him in the run game. Here we go again. Recognition in his coverage. I think you can see his helmet a little bit better here and watch him process that thing. Quarterback, he looks to his side, keeps his head back on the quarterback. Looks like he had the receiver in his sights too. But watch his head move here, Ashley. Pretty impressive. Sorry.
Yeah, you can just feel that this is an intelligent and aware linebacker, and he can put it all together, piece it all together, and you see it in his performance on the field.
So yeah, Jordan, not just a move to upgrade the run defense. We talked about slot corners, people catching balls on us over the middle. Roquan's going to help with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this play where he takes away the tight end here and the depth of that post. Make sure that it's not a quick option right here. You see him stay deep and then recognize he knows he's got help at the top, and then he comes down and he keeps his eyes on the quarterback. He sees what's happening in front of him, right? That his ability to vision and see that running back coming to the middle of the field and then committing to him. That's a really nice recognition on both sides of that play.
And the play fake at first, Jordan. Look, it's a fake handoff. You can see him. It's really not a false step at all. He respects it, but not very much. If you look at the very first 2 seconds of this play, does the quarterback hand it off? He's waiting, gets into his drops with some urgency there. Again, nice coordination between his head, what's going on in his mind, his hips, and his feet. Avoids block and finish. Ashley, look at this one right here. Get ready to talk. Guy coming right at him. He does this little sidestep, whoop, right here. And again, there's a tackler going full speed. The finish there is just tremendous. Damian Harris, a power back. That's what he brings to the table. Roquan just squashes him.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up another super chat donation from Marcus over here, talking about the same thing, intelligent and aware.
Talking dirty. Yeah. And what gets me going here, gets my juices flowing, Marcus, if you will, is the physicality. I just love it. I just love having this enforcer in the middle of the defense. There was one play on here, Ashley, where I didn't put it on the tape, but dude tried to cut him in the legs late, and Roquan didn't go to the official. He didn't do anything like that. He didn't even walk close to the guy. He gave him like the Matumbo finger, and you could tell he was talking. And if I was that man, I would have been a little bit intimidated, I must admit. But it was just funny. He's got this physical presence, a no-nonsense about him. And again, finish just keeps coming up. 3 exclamation points on that one. Again, avoiding the block. You see a sidestep again. No, actually, that's where he almost got cut. So we see him on the weak side, quote unquote, even though 2 tight ends. He's playing middle linebacker here, but he has to act like a weak side linebacker because, surprise, surprise, teams are allowed to run to the weak side, Jordan.
Yeah, and this is really, just good of him staying level and down. One of the things that I like what you see from his film is that he stays low to the ground. He stays balanced. He can kind of use that to pivot in either direction, flip his hips, do whatever he needs to do to be kind of in a good position to make the play.
Yeah, Ashley, 61 gets out to a good start on him now. And he kind of kicks it into gear, notices it, kind of kicks it into gear and knows he's going to get cut and is ready for it. Again, I feel like there's some preparation with his vision here too, feeling that block and knowing that it's going to have to be a cut block.
Yeah, and sticking through it, like Jordan was mentioning, just sticking through it and finishing it off.
Yeah, so again, I wanted to see, we've seen what happens now in coverage, Jordan, when the run's coming his way, when he's at the point of the attack, and we've seen him chase a couple of times. So again, complete. How about his blitzing? Play a little hide and go seek here. And of course, Bailey Zappi doesn't want any part of that. But no, I'm not blitzing. Yes, I am. Catches the center sleeping. There he is with a blitz. Jordan, you get sacks from Roquan too.
Yeah, well, the ability to use a double A gap, like a mug looks with, Patrick Queen, both of them being kind of not knowing which guy is going to come and being able to help them pressure from the interior is going to be effective. I also think he's just going to pair, like his skill set pairs really nicely with Patrick Queen's. And I think we're going to see growth from Patrick Queen because of his ability to play next to Roquan.
Ashley, yeah, jump right in there. Him and Patrick Queen, the thunder and lightning that we really need, I think, is a beautiful compliment to each other.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've always been positive about Queen, and he's only going to make him better. And then I feel like those fans who aren't quite sure on Queen or who have their valid criticisms are going to see that improvement, and they're going to see how good these two are together.
All right, I'm going to get this in here with this segment. Jordan, I've been big on this, and I'm getting a little trash talk from the all Ravens want to talk about is the green dot crew. But I agree. Look, the guy gets the call with green dot, then they're all communicating. I understand it's not that huge of a deal. But Anand remembers what I said before, which was, Jordan, I thought that Patrick Queen was getting almost 100% of the snaps, so the Ravens could find certain situations to get Kyle Hamilton in the game in place of Chuck Clark, and not just when they go to three safeties. Now with Roquan there, Jordan, I'm doubling, tripling down on this. I'm like, look, within a few weeks, Roquan's going to have that dot, and I'm going to look for situations where they can put Hamilton in the game for Clark because Hamilton has because Roquan has the dot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just makes sense too. There's not the kind of depth at inside linebacker that you're going to want to be pulling Roquan off the field in a whole lot of circumstances anyway, and you don't get kind of a situational upgrade switch like you might between Hamilton and Clark. And so I think when you get that situation, it's something that he's got to catch up on the playbook. He's got to be able to show that he understands where people need to be. The last thing the Ravens need in the short term is big gaps in communication that end up really stinging them on kind of some big plays on defense. So take their time with it. But I agree with you. The dot at an inside linebacker is better served than the dot at safety.
So Ashley, you remember me saying that, and I even got props from our buddy Alec Polianis being like, I didn't even think of that. Maybe that is why Queen's playing all these snaps. Dude, I would love to. I bet you, like, if we want to put our strong two safeties in the game, we want to put our strong safety on a tight end. Bro, Hamilton would have to be my guy there over Chuck Clark. Chuck does a lot of things great, but manning up on a tight end, Hamilton looks tough to get open on.
Yeah, and I actually initially, before Marcus Williams had got hurt, I thought that would have been an option at Green Dot because he's just also extremely intelligent, veteran presence. But I like the idea of Roquan getting it. I think he's more than capable. But like Jordan said, just getting used to the defense, and it'll take a little bit, but I like the idea of him getting the green dot over safety as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it makes natural sense, and I don't think it'll take him that long. Marcus Barnes, thank you again, man. I love how you just man, that's awesome. So it brings me up, gives us something to talk about. Remember, he had 17 total tackles versus the Ravens last year. Yeah, Ashley, when Roquan meets Greg Roman, 17 at equals 17 total tackles.
Yeah. I'm just psyched for the type of player that we're getting in him.
I know. The film session's running a little long tonight, but we have to. There's just so much to get into with this. All right, how about a violent shed in the finish? So we've seen him sidestep a couple blockers. Let's see him just dismiss this tight end that tries to block him. Eyes, Ashley. And then the finish, oh, my God. Again, he knows he has to go low here in order to avoid extra yards from Stevenson. Goes low, takes out his kneecaps. Jordan, what's your favorite part of this play, man? What's your favorite part? Is it the shed or the finish? Or
I think it's the eyes. And I think what's most impressive about Roquan is that he seems to have an understanding of what's going on in front of him in terms of the play and what they're trying to accomplish. And he's going to put himself in a position to be able to make a play. It feels like there are moments when Patrick Queen alternatively kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit and kind of gets mixed up in terms of what he thinks is happening in front of him. And so I think that this, you see what can happen for a linebacker when he really has that recognition. And so there's some hope that Roquan can impart some of that wisdom of what he's looking at and what he's looking for on the field to Patrick Queen as well.
And you know what, Ashley? Not even teach Patrick Queen to me. It's just being there to be the general and let Patrick Queen play fast.
Yeah. I completely agree. That was really well said, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan's all right. Jordan's all right. And I thought this is my guy coming in on short notice, by the way. We appreciate that. The Sergeant Garnett, the Sergeant is away right now. So got late notice. Okay, so we have one more play, it looks like. And this is his interception. Nothing special here. Just wanted to put it on the tape. It's a gimme. But, his eyes were in the right place. He was in the right spot in his zone, had the eye on the line running back. Not much I want to just dive into there, Ashley. It was just a basic play, but a good play. Put the interception. He's got a few of those on his resume too. So, man, just really excited, Ashley. It's just nice. I think that it will help the defensive lineman. It'll help in the passing game. It'll really help in the run game. It'll help the Ravens in down and distance. The Roquan Smith move, last words on that.
Well, just seeing the interception gave me some hope because we have a lot of dropped interceptions on this defense. So
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say
that. So I'm just hoping that he brings more of that along with everything else he has to offer.
So, Miss Priyanka, you have to go early tonight. Is that correct? With work tomorrow morning. Jordan, this lady gets up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Good for her.
And still with us. So I love her for that. Wanted to get your thoughts on this upcoming game against the Saints on Monday night that Jordan and I are about to close out the show.
My best friend is a Saints fan, so I always hear about, whatever they're dealing with. I have to hear him vent all the time about it. This improved defense, I am really excited to see what they do since this is a very beat up offense that we're facing. That's going to be more of my focus on the game. I know a lot of people are worried about our offense and against their defense, but I think the matchup of our defense versus their injured offense is going to be what is really exciting about that primetime game.
You know what, Ashley, looking at their team, it's a physical team. They got a little speed with Chris Olave. But this is a good game for Roquan Smith to insert himself into because they're going to run with Kamara. They're going to pound Taysom Hill somewhere, sometime, in Mark Ingram. It's a physical team. It's a pretty good offensive line. So yeah, it seems like a good time, Ashley, for Roquan to step up, and I expect them to have a big game.
Yeah, I am fully expecting that as well. And of course, simply had to bring up Taysom Hill. I'm a Taysom Hill truther just as long as he's not playing the Ravens. So
how about quarterback? Could he get you by a quarterback? What kind of quarterback is he?
I like him at quarterback. I mean, with what they have right now, I don't see why not. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's like an elite top whatever quarterback. That's just not true. But I like him at quarterback, especially over Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's on his way out, so.
And Ashley, get you for this one too. I like Mark's comment. Mark, great to see you again, man. Appreciate you. Roquan, Queen, Bowser, away. There's in that backer group, off the ball. When these scrambling quarterbacks come trying to roll right even, roll left, you get somebody in their face quicker, or they're trying to scramble, and run out of bounds. The speed on the edge is going to help. And another thing is we're going to be fresh when Justin Houston gets in there. He's not going to have to play over 50% of the snaps. Heck, Justin Houston might only play 25%, 30%, being there on rushing downs. JPP, same thing. We're going to have some fresh legs. And against, like Mark's saying, these mobile quarterbacks, that's going to pay off come January.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, is we're setting up very nicely for the postseason. So I have high hopes on this defense moving forward.
We'll get you out of here with this, Ashley. Our good friend Eli, the corpse of Andy Dalton. Yeah, I agree, Don. I agree. Yeah, I would definitely emoji. So, Miss Priyanka, thank you so much for joining us, hanging with us a little later tonight. Appreciate you. We will see you next week. Maybe we'll bring up your Roquan video last week to get you props for you. I mean, Jordan, she called it on the show. Ashley, I even said, what position do you want to dress? She's like, I want to get Roquan Smith. And some bitch, we
Nice.
get Roquan Smith. Yeah. Check it
Nice.
out on her Twitter profile at Ashley Priyanka. She kept those receipts. Ashley, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good night, guys.
Do. All right, Jordan, there she is, the woman herself. Let's get on to this Saints game, man. We got some key stats. We keep the stats a little bit basic. We do put the yards per carry and yards per attempt out there for the passing game so we can tell how these stats are accumulated. We're going to start at the top, Mr. Kell. Let's do it, bro. It's me and you. Ravens offense. For all the bitching, moaning, complaining, and the points that we have left on the field, let's not act like me and you and all the other fans haven't been frustrated at times. Fifth in the league in scoring offense, 26 points a game even. Saints are allowing 25 points a game even. That is 28 out of 32 in the league. So if you just look at it from a points scored, points allowed, this could be a high-scoring game on both sides, actually, Jordan.
Yeah, I think it is going to be potentially a super high scoring game. I think the real big question is whether that running offense is able to kind of grind the clock down. We saw it at the end of the Tampa game. But that being said, the first half was miserable against Tampa. And as you said, the Ravens still put up 27 points higher than their point score average on the week. So, one half can be enough to get it done. But I would love to see a nice, full balanced 4 quarters domination, get Lamar out in the fourth quarter, make it look like we used to see in 2019.
Man, I love that energy brought. I'm still just wanting to win and some health going into this bye week, Jordan, because, again, the players coming back really got me excited. I hope JK's okay, bro. That's the one guy I just want to say real quick. Like, I don't care if we don't see him until mid-December. Like, I don't really need give him a couple of weeks, you know what I mean, to warm up till we hit playoff time. But don't take any chances with this man. He is still, when healthy, 1 and 1A with Gus. I JK's talent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, look at what happened with Saquon Barkley. When you have these serious knee injuries that kind of have big implications, they might not come back and be great the year right after that. I mean, you heard about what happened to JK's knee. It was 3 levels of injuries, all wrapped up in there, all pushing to come back in 1 year. If he's not back this year, that's okay. I think he'll be back next year. It's not kind of career ending in that regard. So get him healthy, let him get healthy, let him have an impact. There's still time for him to make a difference on this team, whether it's the end of this year or it's next year.
Yeah, I hope it's this year, though.
I hope so, too.
It would be really nice to have JK out there as a threat on some of these runs. And you never know, like with Kenyon Drake, when is it a flash in the pan? You know what I mean? Let's just call it like that. It's still only been 3 games, despite how great Kenyon Drake shows up on the channel almost every week. Jordan, we have a prediction here from Marcus. They don't score more than 17 points, I say. So I'll put it to you like this, Jordan. What does the defense have to do? We'll leave that up there because it's not covering your face anymore. What's the defense have to do, Jordan, to limit this team to 17 points?
And I assume they is the Saints?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Marcus is saying they don't score more than 17 because I think I know Marcus.
Yeah, you've got to stop the Taysom Hill, big play. They're going to try and crack one and get something loose, cut loose there. Dalton's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. So you can't miss tackles. You've got to take those things underneath away. You got to wrap up quickly. Can't give him those kind of opportunities. He's not going to take sacks. He's not going to take that pressure. We used to see that all the time in those Cincinnati games. The reads that are easy to him are the ones he's going to take. And so you got to see plays like, I don't know if you remember this play in the Tampa game. The Ravens used kind of like a crosser blitz from the inside. You saw Kyle Hamilton blitzing, and Geno Stone collapses on the receiver because earlier in the game, Brady had basically seen the same blitz, threw right behind the blitz, and was able to be successful the first time. The second time they took it away. That kind of trickery, those are the kind of things that I think that you're going to need to see from this defense to really hold them under 17. But Kamara is rolling and has looked very, very good when the Saints decide to feed him the ball. So, I think if you want to hold them to a low point total, you take him away early, you scare them off up, you give the extra attention to him, you make sure that they're not feeding the ball to him and letting him get it going on the ground or in the passing game. And if that happens, I think less than 17 easily.
You know what, Marcus? I think that we can hold them to under 17 just by controlling the ground game on both sides. It's really that simple because if the Ravens run the ball, they're going to have the ball for 35 minutes plus in this game against the Saints. because the Saints plays are just so short in time taken off the clock. Like Jordan's saying, these little short passes that take 8 seconds off the clock. The Ravens are going to run the ball, keep those games turning. So let's get into the specifics though in this matchup. The Ravens rush offense, one of the best, if not the best in the NFL, lead the league, Jordan, with 5.7 yards per carry, 165 and change per game. Saints defense, middle of the pack. Okay, so they got a middle of the pack volume. They're middle of the pack in yards per carry. They're middle in the pack in yards allowed. Pretty much the definition of a middling rush defense. A little surprising to me with the Mario Davis and those guys and Cam Jordan, but it is what it is. This looks like the number one area the Ravens can exploit rushing against the defense.
Yeah, one of the things I'm interested to see is how much the Ravens start to lean into Lamar Jackson, the option runs, like using him as like a real threat as a runner in that balance. If they're going to lean towards this ball control type offense again, and they want to kind of keep mixing it up in terms of what they're trying to do in terms of running the ball, Lamar Jackson becomes that huge X factor there. And if they're willing to kind of cut him loose a little bit when they need to run the ball, then I just can't see this Saints defense slowing down this Ravens rushing offense.
So Jordan, one of the frustrating things about last Thursday's game was that you mentioned it earlier just in passing. But, can we find some kind of balance? I love the fact that we were passing the ball, but we threw it, 30 times in the first half or whatever it was, ran it 8 times. Then we come out, keep the short passing game. So it wasn't much downfield. I can't remember really anything off the top of my head that was downfield. It was all dink and dunk from Lamar. But we really saw this passing offense get in a groove when it utilized the short passing game.
Yeah, utilize the short passing game, utilize the play action. I mean, and there is a long set of data out there that you do not need to be running the ball well for teams to fall for play action. And if you are historically as good of a running team as the Ravens are, use that to your advantage, especially if Bateman is out, especially if Andrews is still banged up. Take that opportunity to use the play action, keep everything kind of underneath. Pick and choose your shots when you need to. But, I want to keep seeing Lamar under center. I want to see more of these zone schemes. I want to see more of Tyler Linderbaum getting out in space and taking guys down, being that highlight reel center in terms of what he's able to do for those blocks. I'll represent Garnett here, who I know is a huge Linderbaum fan from the get-go. And if there's a chance to unlock him and the running game in that regard, and whether that's in front of Lamar or a running back, there's real big upside in terms of what I think that this team is going to be able to do.
See, yeah, I really do. They just need to diversify the pass game and find some balance. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, all right, we could have took a couple of deep shots when, there was a time where we just wouldn't throw the ball short up until really up last week. So it's nice to see that, especially with Bateman out. It's going to be tough to find some deep yards. I think Andrews will help with that, Jordan, down the seam. And Duvernay, of course, is capable of getting behind people. But take your shots every once in a while. Mix it up, Greg Roman. That's all we ask. Be able to adjust in game. It was just so frustrating to me, Jordan, because it was pretty obvious we were throwing the ball all the time. And it took till halftime for him to make the adjustment. Not 2 drives before halftime. You know what I mean? Where's your in-game strategy changing adjustment? For Greg Roman, it's just blank, bro. It's I'm going to go into the game wanting to do this. And you're lucky if I switch it up much, unless we fall down by 21 points like we did to the Colts, 22 points, then you have no choice. But frustrates me about Giro, bro. I love his system, but I just think it takes so long for him to just unlock the vault, as the fans like to say.
Well, and to me, it's as simple as do the same things that you want to do. Just change the personnel groupings that you're doing them out of, right? When you bring 3 wide receivers on the field and run the ball, stay in jumbo and use kind of these throwing short options, play action to set all those pieces up. You saw a great play in the second half of the Tampa game where they kind of get that fake zone scheme to the right where everybody's flowing right, likely just leaks out, is wide open because it sucks everybody up to the line of scrimmage. Do those show one thing and do another. You've got all the talent in the world to be able to be successful if that's your approach.
Another good point here, Jordan. When does Kolar come back from Baltimore Don C? I believe that's going to be another week before he's activated, practicing in full. So then they'll have that 3-week window coming up in which he has to play by then. But I want to stay on the Baltimore Dynasty's point. What I like about the personnel is if you have Likely, and especially when Kolar comes back, you can line Kolar. You can have Kolar and Andrews in the huddle. Now, the other team doesn't know whether they're going to line up as traditional tight ends or both of them could line up as wide receivers and spread you out. It's going to make it tough when the personnel match up for the defense. Look, if we go light and try to cover Kolar and Andrews with safeties, the Ravens can line them up in line and run the ball, and then vice versa. If you put heavy personnel on the field, you got two tight end targets. So I love what Kolar can likely feels a little more predictable. If Likely's on the field, you don't bring extra big bodied linebacker out there. You probably bring a safety on Likely, which is still a mismatch. But Ravens have some options there on how to do it. I've been a fan of trying to spread them out and letting Gus roll in this, a spread offense, man, or Justice Hill.
Also, just get the calls in sooner so you can exploit some of these things that you're talking about. Use no huddle, right? Like, let them get Likely split out wide. If they're going to put a safety on him, let Lamar make the call and the check at the line of scrimmage and give him another 8 seconds to kind of move guys around and do what he needs to do to get that open. The Ravens get to the line of scrimmage so late sometimes that there's no chance to do any check and there's no chance to do anything. And they're getting so cute with the call and all the things that they're doing when there are mismatches to be had on the field already to begin with.
I feel like they've made some progress getting to the line faster, but it's still time to time. Now I got to look and compare it to other teams. Like, is this happening to every team? Or am I just oversensitive to it? Because it's too many times where Lamar has to run up and be like, snap it, and get back real quick, which makes it harder on Linderbaum. Another credit to Tyler Linderbaum. The snaps have been pretty good, aside from the off time when in the Giants game that Lamar maximized into a game-changing mistake. But this pass offense, Jordan, still not passing for yardage, middle of the pack in yards per attempt. And if we're being honest, Jordan, earlier in the year when we kept bringing these up, the Ravens and Lamar were near the top in yards per attempt. So that thing's been going down. 15th really isn't an indication of how it's been for the last month. The big plays have disappeared without Bateman. Everything's kind of just going down, down, down. Are you worried about Andrews and his health?
No, I'm not too worried about his health. He's been incredible in terms of his career and his ability to stay healthy. I don't think that we're looking at anything that's serious. The Ravens haven't indicated that it's anything that's serious. So I guess we'll find out when we see this game. But nothing wrong if he's a little banged up with using him as a decoy. Let him look like he's the first read and move that ball around. He doesn't have to be out of the game to move the ball around. The Ravens can take advantage of that, especially if they know he's a little banged up when they come into this game.
Yeah, I was wondering if they did that the game before. What was that, the Cleveland game, where he only got 2 targets? Maybe 1 carry or something.
And no catches, right? It was the first game I think he's ever had with no catches.
Right. I was wondering if they were using him as a decoy that game. Like, look, Mark's hurt. We don't want him catching 10 passes and taking a bunch of hits, but we don't want to not have him on the field. He's okay, but he's not great. Let's go to other players. So, I wonder if they've been managing his reps now for a few weeks.
Yeah, maybe they have been, and that's okay. Keep him healthy until like Ashley was saying, like this is a long look to the postseason at this point. They're a 2-game lead basically already in the AFC North. Win your divisional games as you need to. That's going to put you so far ahead with the rest of what it is. Hard schedule up to this point of the season. Easy schedule for the balance of the season. Stay healthy. Continue to work as a team, continue to work on communication, continue to work on kind of what you're trying to hammer out in terms of those mismatches, and this team's going to be fine.
So, Jordan, what do you know about the Saints pass defense before we switch sides of the ball? My only comment is, man, when I've seen Tyrann Mathieu, who I really wanted, I didn't think Marcus Williams was a possibility in my defense. Had no idea we were going to go spend only 14, really, for a free safety. I thought Marcus Williams was a $20 million year guy. Kiss him goodbye. But Honey Badger don't look the same to me, man. Like it looks like he lost a step. Of course, I don't watch the Saints like that. What are your impressions of this? I mean, we're looking at, they're pretty good. 6.4 yards per attempt. That is very good, even if they're facing quick passing offenses like we saw with Brady. Pretty good. 19 sacks, only a little over 200 yards a game allowed.
Yeah, the Saints have always been a strong defensive team. It's always been a little bit of, Sean Payton was such a good offensive coach and guru. And, Obviously we saw all the things that he did with Breeze and the things that he was able to do with Taysom Hill, Kamara, et cetera, kind of historically wrapped up in that. But the Saints defense has always been really disciplined, really smart. You mentioned some of those pass rushers that are up there. So, obviously Tyrann Mathieu seems like he's lost a step a little bit. I haven't watched a terrible amount of the Saints to be able to say in particular, but I would say that this is one of those instances where the Saints defense maybe could be a little better than we might expect coming into this game.
And what about Deshaun Jackson? Do you think he's finally going to get a chance this week with Bateman? He might go on IR. I remember Harbaugh said, we'll update you later in the week on this situation, which I was like, oh, man, that made me think IR is a possibility. Bateman out a few weeks right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Demarcus Robinson, Duvernay, Prochet, and Wallace, right? We only have the 4 wide receivers, not counting the tight ends. Does Deshaun Jackson get his chance this week? And if not, soon?
Yeah, I think we see him this week. With Bateman officially out, it's a good time to give him a couple reps, let him see what you got from him. Even if you're just running him on those 9 routes, see if he's getting separation in that, see if teams are paying attention to it, put it on film. There, especially with the bye week coming up, I think there's no reason not to see him out there on the field, especially if Bateman's not going to play.
Yeah, with the bye week coming up. So in the comments, if y'all want to weigh in on this, will Deshaun Jackson play? Give me a yes or a no. I'd like to see what most people are thinking on that, because I'm figuring why not? I mean, hell, last week, Jordan, I thought they would run him out there against one of his former teams in the Bucs. And, like you said, man, okay, maybe he only plays 10, 15 snaps and he runs a slant and go, stop route and another go route. And that's all you ask him to do. You give him 10 plays to learn. You put him in when you run those 10 plays and, or maybe even 5 plays that you run a couple of times. But yeah, just to get his feet wet, Jordan.
Yeah, totally. I think that he should have seen some snaps last week, especially, I think they knew Bateman and Andrews weren't 100% healthy going into that game. It was a little surprising that Jackson wasn't there. So I'll be extra stunned if we don't see him this week.
One of the reasons I wanted another receiver was to be able to use Duvernay as freely as we could, to not stick him in the box and to not have him be a guy that has to clear out space and stuff like that. And I think Deshaun Jackson can help with that. But Jordan, do you think we're going to be able to keep Duvernay in this gadget plus role? Not just a gadget guy. I don't want to disrespect Devin Duvernay, but have him be able to handle all the gadget stuff that is so effective for us, without having to use him too much out there running routes that, basically he's not getting the ball.
Yeah, the Ravens use enough 21 and 22 personnel that I think that the answer to that is yes. Demarcus Robinson can be your lone wide receiver on a play where they need it to look like that. You can use Duvernay and Robinson, and Prochet seeing a lot more snaps last week as well. You can use some combination of those guys together. And if that's the case and that's what you're getting, then Duvernay still gets to be that. And I believe we saw a touchdown in the second half from Duvernay in that role, even once Andrews and Bateman were out. So that says to me that opportunity is still going to be there.
That's a good point. Yeah, Duvernay did get that creative touch, we'll call it, with both Andrews and Bateman out. So yeah, I don't want to see those plays disappear, man. It took us so long to get them to use it. He actually got a running back toss that we were calling for. I know my buddy Don, I seen him check out, by the way. Thank Don for stopping by. Get Duvernay the ball at least 5 times a game. There's no excuse, man. I want to see more, if I had my way. Another guy I want to see in the offense more, Jordan, before we switch to defense, is Justice Hill. Especially now with Gus and JK out, I'm tired of this Justice Hill 5 carry, 4 carry, 5 carry BS. Can we get to 10? Can we use his speed? Because every time he touches the ball, it seems like he's a different running back and the most explosive guy we have.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Ravens have a nice combination of backs, and it sounds like Edwards is going to be ready to play against the Saints. The little kind of half-week bye with the Thursday game hopefully is going to be enough that we see him out there. And so that rotation of those 3 guys, they're going to keep it fresh. And I think, ultimately, I think it's going to stay pretty balanced between the 3 of them. They're going to have to make the opportunities. They're either going to ride the hot hand or they're going to have to make the opportunities of the carries that they're getting in those situations. So, I have no problem with Justice Hill seeing the ball more, but, right now it's not a drop off with Drake and Edwards has been great since he's returned. So, I'm not force feeding the ball to any one of those running backs right now, except maybe Edwards if he feels like he can take that extra load, because they Hill and Drake have both been really nice in their complementary roles.
See, and I don't see it that way, man. I don't. That's where this is good. We get a disagreement in here. Gus, you said he's. Can you clarify for me? You think he's going to play this week because why? Like, what was your reasoning?
They said it was just kind of like a light hamstring day to day kind of thing. They didn't seem overly concerned about it. So I mean, I guess we'll see. I've been super busy this week, so I haven't been looking at the injury report. So if he hasn't been practicing, then I'm talking out of my butt and I'm wrong.
We're a day late here with Monday night, so the official reports aren't coming out until tomorrow.
Okay,
That's what
all right.
I have tonight. So I was kind of assuming that Gus would be limited, or look, man, we got a bye week coming up. Let's not let him re-injure this thing. Let's get through this New Orleans game without Gus. Roll with Drake and Justice Hill and Mike Davis. But yeah, like I'm looking at it either way. Even if like Gus is managed this week, I would like to see Justice Hill get the ball 10 times. Like the way I'm seeing it now is Gus is going to get it 10 to 15 when he's healthy. Drake's going to get it like 8 to 10. And then Lamar and Justice Hill are going to have like 4 or 5 each designed, depending on how the read option goes and all that stuff. And I would like to see Hill's numbers switch with like Drake. I just like the upside. Not that Drake is slow; he showed that burst, but Justice Hill looks like he's on another level than I've seen him, and that's a guy I want to see get more chances. So.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with it if that turned out to be what the case is, and that's where scripting and kind of figuring out what's working as you're coming into the week. That's part of the problem that drives me the craziest about how long it takes to get out of the huddle. Sometimes it's like you should have a sense of what you're trying to accomplish as you're heading into some of these weeks to begin with, and there are plays that you're going to be practicing that you're just trying to figure out the moment to roll those into the games. If those are Justice Hill's plays and his calls, call his number and let him get after it.
So Jordan. There's a couple of things here, like as far as running back value, it's devalued. And I was talking to Alec Polianis actually earlier today, and I was like, yeah, okay, you don't want to sign running backs. It's pretty obvious the drop off. It's only the freaks of the freaks that are good through their second contract. But as far as value, like if you're a Ravens fan and you've watched what we've watched the last 2 years, and you still don't value the guy that's going to touch the ball 150 times for your team, and then the guy behind him that's going to touch the ball 150 times for your team. If you don't value the difference between it's second and down and 10, are we going to get 6 yards on this, or are we going to get 3 yards because we have a back that can make the middle linebacker miss, or at least make him not get squared up? The timing in the offensive line, like we saw with Drake, bro, like his timing now with this offensive line, he's got it down. As soon as JK came back, even though his knee wasn't completely right, the timing, the flow went right. We're seeing it with Justice Hill now. The timing, the flow, like, man, I'm thinking that running backs are actually a little undervalued right now. The person that you give the ball to 150, 200 times a year should be pretty good. He should be good.
Well, and you're saying, I'd say I definitely would agree with you. I'd say kind of 2 things to that. One is you look at like a guy like Gus Edwards, and even without kind of like staggering overall numbers, he picks up the first downs when you need them. He breaks tackles. He's always falling forwards, not losing yards. There are just so many little things that he adds to what they're able to get from him. But Gus Edwards is an undrafted guy. So on one hand, yes, they are valuable when you have them. The question about kind of their overall value of where you can find them, I think, is an interesting one. Obviously, the Ravens don't think Beatty is up to snuff. That's why Drake was brought in. That's why he's still in the practice squad. He's not ready to take it to that next level. That being said, he's a guy you can stash on the practice squad and probably isn't going anywhere because their running backs are all over the place on practice squads, most likely all across the league. As you take a look at that, I think the other side of that is you're seeing a lot more too high looks now in this league. You're seeing teams a lot more focused on the passing game, dropping more safeties, taking away those deep threats. So the value of running backs is going to naturally rise during those times. You see that, you see it with a team like Cincinnati not being able to run the ball, even though teams are standing too high against them. That's a huge problem for them, and they're going to have to figure that out. Joe Mixon appears to not be the answer long-term there.
So, Jordan, I fell behind on the comments. Mine was stuck. I didn't see all the new ones we got. So I apologize out there, family. Marcus Barnes, do we feel we've seen improvements in the passing game since the additions of T. Martin and Keith Williams? I'm going to speak for Jordan and I on this one because I know what he thinks. Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen these deep over routes that started popping up last year. We've seen a lot of new stuff. Maybe even like a design. I don't even want to call it a trick play, but just you see the Ravens just out scheme people a couple of times a game, which is hard to do. We've even seen it in the red area. So yes, next offensive coordinator T. Martin is my guess on that. Jordan, I have Mr. Torres. Man, I get you the first thing all jumbled up in my mouth all the time. Torres, he said he would on IG. I think you're talking about Gus and his playing time, man. The Gus is going to be good to go. Sure, that would be really, really great. And or maybe he's talking about Deshaun Jackson, said he's going to go because Marcus Barnes said, oh, hell yeah, stone cold. So, yeah, I think he plays. Yeah, if Dez played, certainly D-Jack. Yeah, we're talking about Deshaun Jackson here. Said he would on YG apparent to Torres there. Marcus says he wants D-Jacks with 5 targets. Jordan, there we go, bro. 2 of them go routes, a couple of slants to set them bad boys up. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think 5 targets is a lot. I think we're not going to see, like, if the Ravens continue this evolution of what we saw in the second half of the Tampa game, I think we're going to see Lamar throwing the ball 20 to 25 times a game. So it really is just going to depend on whether Andrews is out there and healthy and kind of where they want to be spreading the ball around. 5 of those throws are probably going to be to running backs. There just aren't going to be a lot of targets for wide receivers. So I'd be surprised if we saw 5 targets for Deshaun Jackson in his first game.
See, I wouldn't surprise me to see him play 10 snaps and get 4 or 5 targets. I don't know.
That's a high volume percentage for a wide receiver in the Ravens offense.
It is, but he was only going to be in there during a certain. I could see it like they did with Gus. What was he in there for like 20 snaps and ran the ball 16 times? Like I could see that with D-Jax. Like, all right, we got the speed. Let's going to set up something. Look at this, man. Anand, bro. No, Anand's honest, man. And he's one of the best fans we got out there. He's busting on your boy Drake, bro. He's only making runs when the line blows up holes for him. So what do you say to our friend Anand?
No,
there?
I think he's right. I think the difference, the reason Kenyon Drake is not a better running back in this league is that he doesn't have that ability. He doesn't have the same wiggle that J.K. Dobbins does, and he doesn't have that same power that Gus Edwards does to break tackles and to get away. So he does need good blocking set up in front of him, a good scheme to be able to be successful. That's okay. We've seen times when the Ravens offensive line was executing from a run blocking perspective last year, and Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman could not get it done. So,
right.
There's still value in that, but I would agree with him. He makes runs when the runs are there, but, he's not creating for himself.
He's not creating for himself, but I think he is creating a little bit with his patience.
And Lamar Jackson's going to create lanes for you.
Yeah, that's another thing. We got conflicting views here, which I love. Marcus says, sit Gus, said Andrews. Bro, get them healthy through this bye and have them back 100%. And I see this, but Jason says he knows he's being selfish, but he wants to see Gus back in the driver's seat of that run game. Yeah, Jordan, it was nice to see Gus come back and beat Gus, man, wasn't it?
Well, and if it was just kind of like when the play that he got injured on looks like he just like little kind of hyperextended his right leg a little bit. And so if there's a little bit of a hamstring strain there because it just got a little pressure on the backside, I think he'll be ready to go. And there's not any, hopefully no long-term risk there if he does come out and play.
Yeah, I love these 2 comments too. Dusty agreeing with me. Thank you. Yeah, let's get him on that turf, man. Let's get D-Jax on that turf too, man. Fast. Let's play fast. We got some speed on offense, despite everybody complaining about speed. Duvernay is pretty darn fast too. Don't forget. And Marcus says, one time, man. Can Gus just get 18 to 20 one time? It's true, bro. Like Marcus has a point here. It seems like Gus is a 10, 11 carries, 60, 70, 80-yard type of guy, Jordan.
Yeah, I think after the bye, if he's healthy, that and Dobbins still isn't back or isn't ready to take on a bigger load, I do think that there is a potential that he's going to see that kind of touch.
There you go. Running backs last year, traumatic experience. It really was. And I mean that seriously. Like, if I had to pick, if it came up, Jordan and I kind of needed a running back, or the contracts were getting short on that. And J.K. Dobbins comes up again, a player like him, maybe not a guy with a knee injury history in the second round. I'm like, bro, why would I take the 7th, 8th, 9th best tackle in this draft, whose upside is, yeah, he's probably going to be pretty good. when I could hand the ball to J.K. Dobbins instead of a Devontae Freeman or a Kenyon Drake 150 times. Like right player, right position, all that. You know what I mean? But I'm not averse to spending a draft pick on a position like a running back because you're giving them the ball so many times. And like I said before, those yards that you get on the running downs open up your playbook on your passing downs. No more 3rd and 10s, bro.
Yep. Keep it play to the chains, keep it moving, play your down and distances, you'll be just fine. Lamar Jackson is the X factor when you're playing on those, blank and shorts.
So Jordan, we talked a lot about this Ravens offense. Let's flip sides of the ball. Saints offense. Man, kind of surprised me, Jordan. Because I don't see them having a lot of weapons. Mike Thomas, I don't even know how much he's played this year. What, maybe one game? Chris Olave, draft pick I absolutely loved. Had a 1st-round grade on him for this year's draft. But really, tight end, all right, Taysom Hill. They got Jawan Jennings, who is a receiver converted tight end. They have a guy with a really cool name, and I'm forgetting what his name is. Rashid Naheed, I think it is. Right?
It's isn't it like Rashid Raheed?
Something, right.
Yeah.
That guy showed some burst and scored a touchdown on one of the primetime games.
So he scored his first 2 touches were touchdowns, I believe.
Right. Rashid Shaheed or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's
a beautiful, beautiful name. But yeah, 24.9 points a game, up there, kind of close to the Ravens in 8th. These Ravens points per game allowed 22.9, 20th in the league. We expected this to be more of a high scoring game. We talked about if the Ravens shut down this running game, and it looks like it's a lot due to Alvin Kamara, Jordan, because look at this. Saints rushing offense, 5 yards per carry, ripping off. And this Ravens run defense, though, it's been coming up and up or down and down, getting better and better is the best way to say it. Alvin Kamara, stop him, much like Barkley, much like Nick Chubb. That's the key to this game.
Yeah, stopping Kamara, stopping Taysom Hill. They're the running game for them right now. You got to shut those guys down. Kamara also going to do damage in the passing game. I mean, they're going to use him all over the place. Sean Payton built a good, very solid offensive system. That's why you're seeing success from this offense. And you're talking about a team that has played a handful of teams really that haven't been at their best overall, right? They've got the Falcons, the Panthers, the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Raiders. They haven't played a super tough schedule in terms of defenses. So I think a little bit of that might be inflated by competition that they're playing as well. But got to stop the run. If you could take that run away from them, I think they're going to be hard pressed to score 25 points in this game.
Yeah. Well, hey, I feel like the Ravens did a pretty good job on Barkley, and a very good job on Barkley, actually, and a pretty good job on Nick Chubb. Kamara can hurt you in so many ways. Of course, he's got the speed, he's got power, he's got balance. He's a pro when it comes to running the ball. His vision, everything about Alvin Kamara is a good back. I think it's actually good that Roquan has played him quite a bit. He kind of understands Kamara's speed and moves and that kind of thing, Jordan.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And look, we're going to get trial by fire for Roquan Smith. We're going to find out whether or not he is the tackling machine that he was. Is that a byproduct of the Bears defense? Is that him being able to rise to the occasion? He's going to get thrown right in the fire in this game because the Saints are going to probably go right at him, in terms of running the ball.
So as we transition from the rush to the pass offense, a defender that the Ravens possibly have come back this week is Tyus Bowser. And he affects everything, every phase of the game, rushing, pass defense, and run defense, Jordan. I think Tyus is a pretty darn good run stopper who's used to the way the Ravens like to set the edge and fit their run game and fit their run defense in there. We've seen people get outside of Oweh a little bit. We've seen people get outside of JPP and Malik Harrison a little bit on the other side. Having Bowser in there, bro, from doing his highlights and all that and, putting together and just watching him, he sets a pretty good edge, man.
That's a great edge, and his ability to, one, keep your guys rotational now, keeping all your edge guys a little bit more well-rested, a few less snaps a game so they can put a little more effort into it is helpful. His ability to set the edge, like you were talking about, is going to be helpful, and it's just nice to have a guy back that is kind of a jack of all trades. Also going to open up Oweh's ability to rush a little bit more, where I think Oweh has been very good this year. And gives him a chance to kind of be able to make a splash impact from a pass rush perspective a few more times a game.
Yeah, and Al, simply thank you for commenting, man. Keeping a close eye on their injury report. Michael Thomas, Jarvis, and then something we should have mentioned when the Ravens had the ball, Lattimore. We're because it's a Monday night game. There was no practice today, so we didn't get an update on if Lattimore is going to be in that game. Obviously, bro, if Lattimore's in the game, the Ravens really don't have a receiver with his reputation, not even close to Marshawn Lattimore's reputation as a cornerback, a shutdown one.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if Andrews is the only guy that's playing, Lattimore is probably going to follow him, or they're gonna try and take Andrews away and use some of those matchups in that regard. So the Ravens have got to come ready to get to their secondary options, to think about how they're using him. What they're going to see from him. Teams are trying very hard to take Mark Andrews away. We saw it in the Cleveland game. They were almost always trying to double or shade, bracket him on almost every single play.
There you go. And then, we have some strong feelings here, Jordan, on he's saying Kamara, bro, that's all on him. Jordan has nothing to do with the scheme. Jordan was just throwing it in there, just throwing it out there, man. But Kamara would be a great back in any system, no doubt about it, Marcus. And then Jason, he feels like with Tyus at full health, Roquan in there, that the Saints won't be able to run the ball. And I'll tell you what, Jason, Jordan, if the Saints can't establish the run and, actually churn out first downs with the run, okay, it's, I don't know, 3rd and 2, and we're going to run it, and we're at midfield, and, we can't get that. They're not going to be able to move the ball on us with Andy Dalton. The short passing game can only take them so far.
Yep, totally agree.
Dude, we saw it with Tampa Bay Bucks. There you go. Tom Brady, he took a few downfield shots to Mike Evans. Okay, so maybe you see the same thing. A couple downfield shots to Chris Olave. But Tampa couldn't get anything on the ground. Those points and yards that they got in garbage time were meaningless. The Ravens pretty much blew the doors off of them and controlled them defensively.
And Mike Evans had 2 really incredible catches in that game too. Olave has been successful because he's gotten separation and gotten open. So, that's a big part of it. But I think the big question is, do the Saints have a guy that's going to be able to make plays at that Mike Evans level? And Marcus was talking about me. Yeah, I said that Roquan is going to have to prove himself immediately. And was it the way the Bears play defense and free up that middle linebacker to make all those tackles, or is it going to be him and is he going to immediately put it on the field for the Ravens?
My fault, Marcus. My fault, bro. I got it mixed up. I'm trying to get used to keeping up with the comments and pulling them up and being interactive. So my bad, man. Yeah, again, I'm with Marcus. Neither Kamara or Roquan. They don't need no system. Systems help them. I think Roquan maybe being – I don't know how much their defense has turned over, but yeah. Thanks, Marcus. Sorry about that, man. So, yeah, we talked about it, Jordan. Saints pass offense, actually 8th in yards per game, 7th in yards per attempt, 14th in touchdowns. So, again, surprising numbers for an Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston-led team. The thing that I like here, though, Jordan, is the Ravens have 23 sacks now, which is 5th in the NFL. The Ravens are also up there in turnovers. It's a Mike McDonald bend but don't break type defense. Here's all these garbage yards. We're going to come up. We're going to tackle. We're going to take the ball away. We're going to tip the ball at the line of scrimmage. We saw, 3 or 4 of those on Thursday. And we're going to get after your quarterback. We're going to let our edge rushers rush the quarterback. Jordan, Yannick would have liked it in this defense.
I think he probably would have. He missed out on terms of that timing. It's going to be a nice, refreshing kind of rotation set of guys that are going to be able to be there at the edge. I also like what McDonald is doing, dialing back and not getting kind of that full or even 3/4 wink that we would talk about last year, right? Not seeing these 6, 7, 8 man blitzes coming out of, all kinds of crazy work. You're seeing a lot more simulated pressures, a lot more kind of looks where they're going to show one thing, but they're dropping more guys than it seems like they are. They're rushing 4, but it's not the 4 that you would expect. And I think that's made a big difference on this defense too.
Yeah. Another great comment from Manon, Jordan. I'm going to go first here. Seems like Roquan had a weak D-line in front of him in Chicago, so we can only get better. I mean, yeah, the Chicago Bears defensive line isn't a super strength by any means. I don't study them enough to be able to have like a firm opinion on it, but no, it's nothing compared to the run stuffers that the Ravens have, Jordan. When you're talking about Calais Campbell, and yeah, put Broderick Washington in that conversation when it comes to run stuffing. You watch this man week to week, his ability to control the offensive lineman in front of him, shed blocks. Travis Jones is going to be more than 5 in there. You got Matabike, who's dominating. The Ravens D line will be able to keep bodies off of Roquan Smith, especially the professionals and the big guys like, Brent Urban, Calais, and Broderick now, who plays like a veteran.
Yeah, totally agree. And don't get me wrong, Jason. I'm not trying to say that I don't think Roquan is going to be that guy. I'm just saying that it's trial by fire here, in that he is immediately going to be asked to be that guy right away.
Oh yeah, Jordan. What do you think all the film studies are going to be about next week, buddy?
Yeah, exactly.
We think Coach Evans, all friends. If you don't follow him, you guys probably know Coach Evans, Coach DC, Cole over 2 guys. Everybody's going to want to be doing Roquan stuff on Tuesday. So, I don't know. Kind of, did one tonight to try to get a taste for it. But yeah, all eyes on Roquan, and why not? I have a feeling that it's pretty special to him. He mentioned that today, that his debut for the Ravens is on Monday Night Football. A player who needs no motivation, Jordan. My goodness, Roquan Smith. So, Jordan, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Final thoughts, man. What haven't we covered on this show? I want to ask you, man, because we don't get to catch up very much anymore. What's your overall thoughts on this team? Because I feel like there's a certain segment of the fans that are tremendously down on this team, bro. Like, I don't understand it. Like,
I don't understand it either. The team is almost there. Like, we're right. It is right on the cusp of kind of getting across the line and being where it needs to be. We're a few plays away from, being a 1 or 2 loss team, being right in the mix for the lead. This team is still coming together. They're making adjustments in terms of what they're trying to do on defense. We're seeing that evolve. Greg Roman has got to get it kind of tightened up in terms of what they're doing and how they want to call this offense. But once they find their identity, they get in sync, I think this is one of those teams that could go on a roll in the second half of this year. The biggest part of that is the second half schedule is weak. It is incredibly weak. And as long as they're able to get over the hump of like those Steelers games and be able to play past those bad Steelers teams and not let kind of the divisional history get in the way of those games, this team is going to have a real opportunity, I think, to kind of roll over some of these, the rest of this week's schedule they got in front of them.
And on that point, Jordan, look, I'm going to back you up by saying this. I'm going to take you off the screen and then bring you back, see if that unfreezes you. But look, you can't look at the schedule and be like, look, there's a bunch of easy wins on there and we're going to win every one of them. But what that easy schedule does, between that and what the Bengals look like without Jamar Chase, is it means if you look at the last 5 games, 4 of those games are against the division. So what this tells me, Jordan, is, look, bro, you don't have to go in there and win all those games that you're saying, okay, the Ravens should win this one. Look, the Ravens are going to blow a game or 2 on this easy schedule. It's very possible. I would even say probable. We're going to drop a game that we're favored in from here to the end of the year. The thing is, the Bengals aren't perfect either, Jordan. They look pretty bad without Jamar Chase. Their offensive line looks bad no matter if Chase is in there or not. And then 4 out of the last 5 games, Jordan, are against the AFC North. So the Ravens' fate, man, it's really going to come down to the month of December, and I think we play a game in January where we play the Steelers twice and we play the Bengals and Browns again. Like, Browns with Deshaun Watson, Bengals in Cincinnati. We handle business on those games. These games coming up don't matter as much. Those are more like your bonus trying to get a higher seed, bro. But we win this division, we're in the playoffs with a home game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters for this team, getting into the playoffs and then winning in the playoffs. I think we've seen this team be able to have the formula to what it needs to be successful, use these times to work out the kinks, get into a flow, both on offense and defense, have that momentum as you're getting into November and December. And let's let them roll. I agree with Troy.
What's the odds on that this week? And look, so we painted the picture here on how the Ravens can really have their way in this game. Balance on offense. Saints rush defense isn't very good. It's okay. Ravens have their day rushing the ball. Roman breaks out the quick passing game again without Bateman. Ball spread around. Ravens score their 28, 20, 30 points like the Saints are about giving up, like the Ravens are scoring. And then, on the other side of the ball, not only are we controlling the clock, so they have it last. Short passing game only gets them so far if we shut down Kamara. If that happens, what are the odds that happens? And This is a game like almost like Tampa. Like I wasn't really sweating that hard with Tampa. What do you think we put this game away in the fourth quarter? An insurmountable lead despite what happened in the Dolphins game.
I mean, it's a Monday night game in New Orleans, so I would caution folks to be too overly optimistic. They are a tough team at home. They play great in the Superdome. Those fans get up for primetime games, and the Saints get an extra day of preparation, as they're coming into this game. So, this probably is any of the road games are the ones that I'm circling as going to be the challenging ones anyway. The ones that you might lose that you think you're going to win, and especially you add that primetime factor, you add that New Orleans factor to that. I think this could be one of those games that still is live in the fourth quarter and closer than we might want it to be.
That'd be great, dude. And you know what? Comment here. Megatron and Moses have a good match. They do. Cam Jordan, man, he's their best player. He's the guy I would, if not for Lattimore, I would take home on the bus on that defensive side with us. Sneak back on the plane, say, man, both of those are really, really good players. Cam Jordan, who lines up on Moses' side, I believe that's Davenport. I agree with Jeremiah. I'm pretty sure Cam Jordan is their rush end. He'll be over Ronnie Stanley. Stanley will have his hands full too. And of course, on that hard turf with a bye week coming up, we might see Pat McCary again, Jordan. I expect to see McCary his 15, 20 snaps again, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it's working and it's fine. And let Ronnie get comfortable, let him get healthy, keep after it. I've got no problem with them kind of building this out in a way that still needs development overall.
Yeah. So for the Saints to win this game, Jordan, what are they going to have to do for the Ravens? What's the key on both sides, if you would say?
I mean, I think for the Ravens, I think it's the same key both directions. It is stopping Alvin Kamara and the running game and basically unplugging the Saints offense. I think if that happens, there's no way the Saints are going to score enough points to win this game. So there's no way to overcome it. I guess on the Ravens side of the ball, it's really, can you find balance? Like find areas to exploit and attack, pick your matchups and be winning with whatever those matchups look like. Cause I think there are a lot of different iterations of what that could look like.
The Saints, they have hope, bro. Well, much like the Bucs. So I'm going to say the same thing as last week. The Bucs, I said last week, if we get a play early in that game after what the Bucs went through, that whole stadium is going to turn. Saw somebody on Twitter today talk about if their flight was any indication. There's a ton of Ravens fans headed to New Orleans. This is a team that's 3-5. They were 2-5, I think, and 3-5 now. But they still have a chance because the NFC South is so bad. But they're not happy with the way a lot of things are going. I'm watching Saints YouTube. I'm hearing the tone on even the positive shows. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? Even the homers are like, well, we're bad, but we can still win it, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking, look, we get a big play early on these guys. We score first, shut them down, score again. The wheels could come off the Saints. And Jordan, in that against that Tampa, Tampa looked like they didn't want to play ball in the fourth quarter. Like, look, man, we're bad. We know we're bad. We can't come back. Devin White getting pancaked and all that other stuff. Like, I think we could take the will from the Saints like we took the will out of Tampa Bay.
I want to see second half Lamar in the first half next week. We've seen him come out and kind of not look great and look a little inconsistent. I'd love to see him in control of this offense, both in terms of the calls, getting to the line of scrimmage, some of the throws being on target when he needs to make them. Don't be trying to do too much, play within the offense and what you're asking it to do. Keep them keep the game out of reach. And I think you're right. By the time that we get to the fourth quarter, and especially if Gus plays, then you'll be revved up. You'll have the running game going and you'll just be able to run them right out of the stadium.
I hope Gus plays now. Now I don't know. I don't want to rest Gus. I want to play. Yeah, I'm going to be whoever said that, selfish. I think it was Jason. Be selfish, be like, I want to see the Gus roll, man. It's just so fun seeing him play. Well, Jordan, I really appreciate you coming through talking Saints. I don't know. I don't do score predictions. If you want to throw one out there, if you got the guts to do so, you can, but I'm kind of a superstitious. By the way, third week in a row, wearing the shirt. We got our first winning streak. And Jordan.
You like the throwback?
Yeah, I do. But the last time we saw Jersey Joe, it just didn't look like Jersey Joe, man. It was kind of sad.
No, he's not the same guy anymore. I think we're looking at a 25-30, low 30s score for the Ravens overall, as long as we see a good performance on offense. And I do think there's an opportunity the Ravens hold them under 15. It's a low scoring game for the Saints, but if it gets away from them and we see Andy Dalton get into a little bit of a groove and there's not a response on McDonald's side, then I could see the Saints start to run up that score a little bit. They got to stay in communication. Don't let things get away from them. Don't let Taysom Hill kind of slip away from you. Know where Kamara is on the field. You'll be fine. Those things get away from them. It could get ugly on defense.
Yeah, I would say bet the over on this game. Whatever the points is, the over. If you bet it. It's a Monday night game. It's a big game for both teams. I expect
turf.
Yeah, it's on turf. Indoors. Bro, you know what? I got one more question for you. A statement and question, rather. The Ravens play all 4 teams in the NFC South, like the rest of the division. We beat Tampa on the road. If we beat New Orleans on the road, the 2 games we have left are at home, and they're against the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. Okay? So we have a chance. If we win this, man, it really increases our chance to really put the pressure on Cincinnati. You go ahead and try to match what we just did to this bad division. Here's the question, a Lamar question for you. After the bye week, by the time we come back, maybe next Wednesday, are the contract talks renewed? And could Lamar possibly be signed here, or am I just being optimistic and praying here? What % chance do you give that?
I mean, I think it's pretty low at this point, unless the Ravens have changed their tune about wanting to be willing to pay him that guaranteed money. I don't think Lamar is going to budge. I am not in the, now that you're giving me a soapbox, I'm going to get on it here for a second. I'm not in the category.
Before you go, here you go. Lamar ain't budging. The Ravens damn well might, knowing Lamar's
fair. That's what I'm saying. So the only evolution of this contract that gets it signed is the Ravens say, hey, we're going to fully guarantee the contract. If they say that tomorrow, I think Lamar would sign the deal. So it's really just a question of that. I don't buy this. Lamar can't negotiate his contract and play at the same time, that he's not a big enough boy to have his feelings hurt because they're telling him that he doesn't deserve the guaranteed money. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works in my job. Like, when I ask for a raise and they tell me, no, we're not going to give you a raise, I'm not running home crying because, the people that decide how much my salary is said something mean or critical about me. I don't think that happens with football players either. These guys are men. They understand what's going on. They understand that it's a business. They understand it's a negotiation. He can separate that stuff out. I think there's a chance that Lamar's play recently has been that he's a little more banged up than the Ravens have let on. We saw that issue that had popped up with his elbow, and we saw another like issue where he kind of just missed a little bit of practice time and was showing up late. They never really said what that was. I think he's got some lingering stuff that have been kind of sticking with him, and that has been where some of the inconsistency in his mechanics and throws have come from. I do not think it's contract related, and I think both sides are more than happy enough to just let this ride out until the end of the year and then get on the same page once they get there.
I know it, man. And, Troy's even saying Lamar's going to be tagged next year. Just
I don't know about that. You know what I think is going to happen? I think they're going to come to an agreement of like that 5 or 6 years that they want to guarantee, right? Or that Lamar wants guaranteed. They're going to have a number of what fully guaranteed is for that. They're going to tack 4 years onto it and make it a 10-year deal. So we're going to basically unplayable over those last 4 years, and then be able to work that into the cap, be it an advantage for the next couple of years, get the cap number down, get Roquan signed to a long-term deal, and be able to play that. The reason they don't want to guarantee the whole contract isn't because they don't think Lamar can play, isn't worth it, or is going to get hurt. I think it's because the salary cap flexibility that you lose when you do that isn't worth it. So I think they just add those like back-end years that are unplayable, that they'd either have to cut him after 6 years or restructure him when they get there.
It's quite possible, or maybe they just say, look, we'll give you your 40 million, 45 million a year, or in most of it guaranteed. I'm saying 40 million a year of it guaranteed. It makes 46, 40s guaranteed. And just negotiate everything else around Lamar. Because look, man, here's what I'm thinking. Lamar's serious about his money. I cannot see a scenario, Jordan, even if Lamar were to get hurt and miss some games, where Lamar comes back and was like, you know what, guys, you're right. Let me cave. I'm not worth what I was asking last year. Lamar ain't doing that, man. His price is going up, bro. It's probably not even going to stay the same. It's going to go up and up and up. If I'm Bashotti and if I'm EDC, who said he was tripping, bro? Bashotti is kind of tripping on this. You should have just, yeah, Marcus, bro. Lamar is not taking less. If he's already made that clear for you, you pay him what you want right there, and you do it, or you just let him go and watch a generational quarterback who I personally, Jordan, for selfishness, want to be able to watch Lamar Jackson for the rest of his effing career
Me too.
because of the enjoyment of it, of being a fan. Even as much as I analyze and all that other stuff, man, forget all that stuff for a second. I want Lamar Jackson to be my quarterback, bro. So I bring it up because we got this bye week, and I agree with you. I think Lamar gets babied a lot in the media. Oh, how can he take the criticism? Oh, how can he negotiate and play? He's not focused on football. It's all this, man. It's BS. Lamar can walk up there, say, look, we agreed on this or we were close on this, and you guys wouldn't do it. And I bet you that, if he goes back, they could get that done in a bye week. So, Jordan, man, soapbox there for me, bro. Close us out on this, man.
Yeah, I would love to see a Lamar extension. I would love to see him continuing to play. I think all those things are super important. But I think they're going to roll the Saints. I think it's going to be a big win this week. I think let's see that offense continue to evolve. Greg Roman, prove yourself. Roquan Smith, come in here, be the guy we expected you to be. Let the Ravens be who you expect them to be one of these weeks, and if they are, I think they're gonna pick up the W on Monday night.
So, Jordan, tell people where you're at, man. You and Gabe.
Yeah, you guys can find us. I'm on Twitter at Raven Sit Room, but we got a podcast called The Situation Room. We're going to record one of those tonight where we talk a little bit about some of the games. We're going to talk some over-unders tonight. Love to see you over there. You'll find us at filmstudybaltimore.com, where the Situation Room is their home, and you can find us on Spotify as well.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. Know that people enjoy you. Thank you to everybody who came in and joined tonight. Not only the number of viewers we've had, but the number of comments, people carrying the conversation, giving us things to talk about. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the Roquan Smith film study. If you missed that earlier, you can still rewind it right now while I'm running my mouth and go back and check that out. It was really good. We got to see Roquan do a little bit of everything. Point of attack, run and chase, cover, eyes are good, block shedding. Just a top-tier linebacker in all phases that will help this defense in pass defense as well as run defense. So check that out. Also, we'll be releasing more videos probably this week. As Ashley would tell you, please turn on your notifications. Hit that like button, bro. Hit that like button on your way out if you could. Help get us in the algorithm. Comment, and thank you to everybody who's watching on the replay right now. Thank you to our football family. Love our football family. We will see you next Wednesday live. Jordan, we'll have you back, brother. Say goodbye to the people now.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Always appreciate it. Good night, everybody.